Imagine the implications of a weapon with no visible trace, a weapon that could knock out tanks, ships, and planes as fast as the speed of light. The same technology with modifications could disorient and even tranquilize military personnel, rendering them virtually helpless in the battle zone. These are the new weapons of war we will examine in this series. For the past 40 years, the world has been riveted by the threat of nuclear war, and more recently by the prospect of space defenses using lasers and other modern technologies. But while both sides at the Geneva summit will be focusing on these matters, progress is being made in even newer weapons that could render any arms agreement relatively useless. Lightning is the most dramatic form of energy to be found in nature. Scientists have succeeded in creating limited types of artificial lightning, and some think that these could be the forerunners of a new type of directed energy weapon, part of a family of weapons which operate within the radio frequency segment of the electromagnetic spectrum, and are thus referred to as radio frequency weapons. Dr. James Frazier has researched electromagnetic effects for the Air Force for over 10 years, and he, like a small but growing number of weapons experts, feels that radio frequency, or RF weapons, could be the wild card in the ongoing arms race.
You could have tremendous amounts of radiative power, and what you did with that power then is a matter of engineering design and what your goal is.
Robert Bass, a physicist and PhD in mathematics, is working on U.S. weapons research. He says that the Soviets seem to be ahead in a number of areas, and especially in RF weapons.
We are behind the Soviet Union in directed energy weapons based on 60 gigahertz microwave beams.
Dr. Bass and others feel the most likely form of Soviet RF weaponry would be high-powered microwaves, similar to a focused, ultra-high-intensity radar beam. It would literally cook humans and knock out computers and electronic surveillance and communications gear. An operational RF weapon, relatively cheap and reusable, could devastate sophisticated and expensive war machinery. The $20 million F-16 fighter, for example, is totally controlled through electronic sensors and computers. With no manual flight controls, the plane would literally fall out of the sky after being hit with a high-intensity pulse of microwave radiation. Scientists say that microwaves and other types of RF pulses operating at specific frequencies or windows can be transmitted with little or no loss of power. Machines known as gyrotrons can produce the massive pulses needed to drive these devices, and it's believed that the Soviet Union has a 3 to 5 year lead in this technology. Over the past year, CNN has repeatedly asked the Department of Defense and the Air Force about radio frequency weapons. After much resistance, DoD finally said that the subject was too sensitive to discuss. In my next report, unexplained cloud-like phenomena which may be evidence of a Soviet breakthrough in RF technology. Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning. First thing I want to tell you, and this is the back bedroom my grandchildren used to sleep. Right. I have no Wi-Fi in this building, because obviously I get dry eye syndrome. It's caused by microwave radiation from transmitters, Wi-Fi, etc. See, as I'm turning my angle in that way, you'll see an increase in microwave radiation to transmit all the light back to my home. Right. I'm just going to show you where it is. Right. It is there. See that? See that? Remember, I've got no telecoms in my house. Right? Totally clean environment. The reason why? Because I know microwave radiation is not safe. Another one down there. This Gated Council have fitted 31,875. These are 5G. Not as the council say something else. And not as the council say the control management system at mast emits radiation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. See, I'm getting the horn to sit and sort of see the signal. It keeps peaking. Yeah, it can peak more than that. This system's on idle. You can see how hazardous it is today at that distance. God help my neighbours who are living in those houses over there. And the reason we've heard of women bleeding from the nose, disorders, suffering neurological, people suffering anxiety and all other types of neurological issues. This is a crime. Installation was done in secret. Elected members were told it was a control management system. It's actually 5G. It's on 31,875 streetlights. This is, they've turned the whole of Gateshead into a microwave oven. Right. Council of Europe 1815 resolution, go look for it. They instead told governments to stop exposing their populations to this type of radiation. Right. It causes all sorts of health problems, health issues. We look at 780. Just keep remembering, we are some 30 metres from that mast. I mean, obviously we've got radiation coming in from the other mast at the front of the house and from the side of the house. But this actually shows that this transmitter, that's the main impact in the back bedroom where my grandchildren used to sleep. Oh, I've stopped them coming. Radiation in this home is far too high to be safe. This is chronic exposure. No one has any evidence to say that this type of exposure is safe. In fact, I have thousands of scientific papers to say that it most certainly is not.
Do to people. We know already that with the 4G and the 3G technology that we have and the cell phones, the cell phones can cause brain tumors, and that's real, you know, and they could disrupt the way we feel, and they disrupt our brain wavelength and our wave patterns of our brain. They could disrupt our thoughts. And we know there are directed energy weapons, there are new ways of controlling crowds, and there are so many experiments going on with weapons that are using just different wavelengths of energy. So there are definitely serious health, safety, and environmental concerns over this 5G that's going to be coming out. So the FCC has given the okay for telecommunication industry to operate the 5th generation technology using new spectral frontiers, making the USA the first country in the world to do so. However, operation on this new higher frequency electromagnetic spectrum range has never been evaluated for how it will impact humans or animals and the environment. No, there's no real long-term studies on it. And this is quite an appalling circumstance when you consider the current wireless technology with its electromagnetic hypersensitivity is known to disrupt biological integrity and cause ill health.
This is a Soviet LIDA machine. It transmits low-energy radio pulses between 0 and 100 cycles per second. In the Soviet Union, LIDAs have been used for years to tranquilize psychiatric patients without physical contact. This sound, which is received by shortwave radios in the United States, is generated by another Soviet radio frequency device. It is known as the woodpecker because of its tapping noise. It is broadcast by a number of high-powered radio transmitters operating deep in the Soviet Union since July 4th, 1976. Though the official Defense Department explanation of the woodpecker is that it is an over-the-horizon radar designed to track U.S. missile launches, some scientists suspect that the woodpecker is designed to interfere with human brain function.
As far as I'm concerned, the potential that this has for producing a direct psychoactive effect upon the total American population is there, has never been disproven.
Dr. Robert Becker is a pioneer in the field of bioeffects of electromagnetism.
The signal range within which the woodpecker operates is that which has been reported by many investigators to produce a tranquilizing effect upon animals.
We are just incredibly sensitive to these magnetic stimuli.
Dr. Bob Beck, a PhD in nuclear engineering, has done extensive research into electromagnetic effects on humans.
The signal was permeating power grids in the United States. It was being picked up by power lines, re-radiated. It was coming into the homes on the light circuits.
I was surprised after coming here that the influence of electromagnetic fields was almost completely ignored here.
Dr. Larissa Valenskaya was heavily involved in Soviet electromagnetic research before being allowed to emigrate to the United States. She told CNN about Soviet research in electromagnetic effects.
They demonstrated theoretically and also demonstrate experimentally that low frequency, low energy electromagnetic fields also can possess biological efficiency because any field not only carries energy but also carries information.
She stated that the research was carried out on orders from the Soviet government.
Of course, the military were extremely interested in this potential of remote influence.
Is the United States military working in the field of electronic mind control? Officially, the Department of Defense will not comment because the subject area is, quote, too sensitive. But CNN has learned from this government scientist, who did not want to be identified, that a Navy laboratory conducted research into the use of an RF device for counterterrorism and special operations.
It's possible to entrain a certain percentage of a population, apparently, with weak magnetic fields.
The study also showed that RF signals could dissolve certain types of rat brain cells at a distance, causing disorientation and nausea. According to the scientist, even though the program was successful, the government never followed up on it. Dr. James Frazier did electromagnetic research for the U.S. Air Force for many years. At one time, he proposed a battlefield RF weapon system.
You could make an antenna that would be carryable by a helicopter, and that this could be expected to produce a wide variety of symptoms, actually, by humans who happen to be standing in the beam.
According to Dr. Frazier, the Air Force never followed up. At Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, another RF weapons concept is nicknamed the brain bomb. According to the book Star Warriors, the brain bomb would focus a nuclear blast into a huge pulse of low-frequency RF energy that would stun huge numbers of troops. Apparently, it too has not yet been funded. The Department of Defense will not comment about Soviet RF weapons, or if American RF weapons development is going forward. However, experts interviewed by CNN say that the Soviets are apparently ahead and could exploit that lead in a surprise strategic move, a move that could have grave consequences for the United States. From Washington, this is Chuck DeCaro, CNN's Special Assignments. This is a Tesla coil. It was invented some 90 years ago, but now a growing number of experts in the United States feel that it may form the basis of a new generation of Soviet weapons. They are known as radio frequency, or RF weapons, because they operate in the radio frequency spectrum. Their existence is noted in this U.S. Department of Defense publication, which says the Soviets could use them to destroy components of missiles, to interfere with radar and other electronic systems, and even to alter human mind functions. The concept of RF weaponry was predicted at the turn of the century by Nikola Tesla, an American who had emigrated from Yugoslavia. He is best remembered as the man who invented alternating current electricity.
This is the outrageous experimental test 5G system at Gated Council. There's another one on the top of the light there, look. Right. Right. Not a single bird. And why would that be? Radiation off these masts. Lethal. Lethal to small flying insects. Lethal to small children. Small bodied animals, birds. Gated
failure to act. But probably because maybe you don't realize what is being done to your children. Maybe you do. I want to talk about one of the most obvious signs that your child is suffering from microwave sickness, because that is the energy that is emitted from all wireless devices. Wi-Fi access points, WLAN networks, Wi-Fi hotspots, cell phones, iPads, cordless phones, wireless cameras, wireless televisions, wireless DVRs, wireless baby monitors, wireless security systems, wireless everything. It's all operating on unlicensed radio frequency bands that the FCC has allowed for the absolute proliferation of between 2.4 and just a little over 5 gigahertz, folks. And those frequencies are dangerous. So let me tell you what this stuff does to your children. Let's start with the most innocuous effect. Do your children get headaches when they come home from school? Do they complain about headaches? Did you know that when I was a child in the 70s, I never got headaches, ever? And did you want to know something else? I lived in Garden Grove next to the 22 freeway, and we would ride our bikes and play hide and go seek and ditch 'em and tag in second stage smog alerts as we were jacked up on Abba-Zabbas and Coca-Cola full of caffeine in second stage smog alerts, and we did it until the streetlights came on, folks. And I never had any headaches. Well, let me tell you something, folks. Your kids are getting headaches, aren't they? Of course they are. And that's why when you go to the store, there's Tylenol and Motrin and Pamprin and Midol and Laydol and whatever kind of nonsense they have for headaches. Now, they got 20 things for headaches all over the shelves. Chronic microwave exposure from your Wi-Fi systems and their weapons that they've been given as toys or educational devices at school are harming your children. And they're getting migraines from these systems. Do you have a Wi-Fi access point in your child's bedroom? Do you have an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation in your children's bedroom? Did you know that when you turn off an Xbox 360, the Wi-Fi systems are still broadcasting unless you unplug the unit? You heard me, ladies and gentlemen. Turning off the Xbox in your child's bedroom doesn't stop the wireless broadcast unless you unplug the unit. Your children are getting migraines and headaches from their wireless exposure. Now, you could do something about it at home. You could turn off the wireless systems in your house. You can turn off the Wi-Fi systems when the children go to bed. Better yet, you can hardwire your home and get rid of the Wi-Fi systems. If you have an iPad or a Chromebook that has been issued by the school district to forcibly damage your child intentionally, that's what the school districts are involved in. I won't get into that right now. You could buy an Ethernet adapter that'll plug right into the side of that thing, and you don't need to use the wireless component of that device. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe Umbriano. I'm coming to you outside of Troy High School in Fullerton, California, to report on the latest developments that are taking place at this school. We've got about a month left of school. This school, as we've reported, is a prison induction complex that has microwave weaponry installed in it. This school has sheet metal walls. This school has pink fluorescent lighting. And this school has deployed ruckus access points, microwave transmitters that are designed to power up to 500 devices per classroom. This is a scientific kill grid, ladies and gentlemen. This is a place where these students are being sterilized by microwave emissions. In 1974, the United States government commissioned many studies on the effects of microwave emissions on tissues, cells, organs, and various parts of the human body as well as animals. One of the most significant reports that has been produced and obtained to date is one that was conducted by the Defense Intelligence Agency, and it was a study on non-thermal power levels of microwave radiation in the frequency band that is being deployed in these classrooms. What was observed was very startling, folks. We have actual proof from the United States government scientific studies that morphological changes to subcellular components such as the mitochondria and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum of cells were reported after exposure to non-thermal power levels of microwave radio frequency emissions. And those emissions power levels are the same frequency and power levels of those deployed in these classrooms. Ladies and gentlemen,
People's exposure to EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies, have been known to result in, for example, neurological effects, brain tumors, learning difficulties, nervous conditions, hormonal and behavioral patterns. It has been said that the same will happen with 5G technology, and perhaps way more severe. So what about kids? Are they more susceptible than adults because of their smaller bodies take in higher EMF radiation? So if it's allowed, 5G will be another addition to the list of silent killers associated with deceptively harmful technology. So this article even goes on to so boldly say that, in short, the globalists have a depopulation agenda, and they want to cull us off slowly because they can make a lot of money out of it along the way. The new 5G technology with the mobile network will change from operating on microwaves at something around 3 gigahertz to the higher millimeter waves, such as 40 gigahertz. Millimeter waves that can have a completely different biological effect. They have been used as military weapons. Armies have directed high-intensity millimeter waves on the enemy, causing them the sensation of skin burning, while also affecting sweat ducts. Further, for some years, low-intensity millimeter devices have been used in Russia for therapeutic treatment to alter the patient's cell metabolism. Because the new 5G technology pulses more with a higher frequency, it has the potential to increase the likelihood of ill health and make it happen faster.
In 1899, Tesla built this giant coil which produced 10 million volts of artificial lightning. From it, he theorized the possibility of death rays. This and many other of his ideas about the physics of electricity were ridiculed by the scientific establishment.
Pure science is not a sure thing. You can't predict what's going to work out and what's not going to work out.
Robert Golka, a research scientist, built a replica of the Tesla coil about 80 years later. Golka was trying to produce a phenomenon known as ball lightning. He also used the Tesla coil to conduct testing for the U.S. Air Force.
What I was doing was setting in maybe 5-foot-long models of advanced fighter aircraft, and we would want to try to find out which part of the airplane was more vulnerable to lightning strikes, whether it was a wingtip or the canard where the pilot sat.
These experiments could also demonstrate the effect of the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear blast, and Golka says the effect of RF weapons as well. Golka thinks that Tesla's theory that electromagnetic power could be transmitted through the Earth and its atmosphere without wires is a key element in the Soviet Union's work on RF weapons. Tesla's novel weapons theories were generally ignored in the United States. Nikola Tesla died in 1943, and after the Second World War, all his papers and effects were shipped to his native Yugoslavia, where they were enshrined in a museum. Some say that that museum proved to be a gold mine for Soviet weapons scientists.
We haven't even formally, so far as I know, to ourselves admitted that these weapons exist in the hands of the Soviet Union.
Weapons analyst Tom Bearden, a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel, is among a small group of scientists and engineers who believe that the Soviets have perfected Tesla's ideas and are developing radio frequency weapons on a scale unimagined in this country.
There have been a series of tests of these kinds of weapons, apparently, for a number of years. For example, airliners from Iran, before the fall of the Shah, saw deep within the Soviet Union very large glowing spherical balls of light which started out small and then expanded to very large size, which are apparently these kinds of weapons for use in an anti-ballistic missile defense role.
Bearden believes that these satellite photographs are of mysterious non-nuclear explosions near an uninhabited island in the East Siberian Sea, and that they are discharges from an RF weapon that uses intersecting energy beams called scalars.
In doing so, you can create, for example, either an electromagnetic explosion at a distance, or you can create an electromagnetic implosion at a distance, the extraction of energy from a distant point. This would look like a cold explosion, so to speak. And I believe the thing on April the 9th, 1984, off the coast of Japan that involved several 747 jet airliners, I believe that incident was a test of a cold explosion weapons. At least it met all the characteristics.
Pilot Doug Happ was in one of the 5 airline crews that saw an incredibly large cloud rising from the moonlit overcast below.
It looked like a plate coming up through an overcast, but it just kept expanding. And as it got higher, it was apparent that you could see right through the middle of it, so it looked like a big smoke ring. At the time that we first noticed this cloud, we weren't sure what to do, and we took no evasive action because we didn't know which way to go. And I think eventually we either ran through it or it completely engulfed us.
App says when his flight reached Anchorage, Alaska, it was checked for radioactive contamination. None was found. Dr. James Fraser has done extensive research in electromagnetic effects for the U.S. Air Force.
It could be due to a strong electromagnetic beam, but we don't know that. They can also be caused by chance thermal gradients. We've had for several years studies of clear air turbulence, for instance, which have produced this kind of a disruption. The people who cited those are experienced pilots and should have been familiar with that kind of event, and this apparently was something outside their experience.
There have been a number of times when Soviet technological surprise has upset the strategic balance. In 1948, the Soviets detonated an A-bomb years before it was thought possible. In 1957, the Soviets stunned the world by launching Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. And in 1976, the Soviets were discovered to have been embarked upon a program to build particle beam weapons, a discovery which led 5 years later to America's Star Wars program. In each case, the United States was able to regain the balance. But this time, with radio frequency weapons, some scientists feel that the Soviet lead may be permanent. In my next report, how radio frequency devices can be used as weapons against the human mind. Chuck DeCaro, CNN, on special assignment.
Council say it's safe, no evidence. They've actually not done any consultation with the public about this. They are obliged on a law, it's a multi-million-pound project. You haven't been told about it. We don't know anything about it. This is democracy denied. We are obliged on our law because the ecological and environmental impact that this has caused, it's killed off all the birds. You've seen the bird videos, you've seen the insects, all the insects are dead. No wonder. It's 30 metres, it's 680 millivolts. That is absolutely disgusting. The level of radiation in my bedroom making me sick, making my family sick. Anyone suffering from tinnitus, this is pure torture. This is a microwave oven. Anybody that doesn't believe this, check Professor Martin Pal. He's an expert in the field, he's the leading expert in the field. Watch any of his videos, don't take my word for it. Right, go and check any of the videos. The health effects range, and they're published, there's published peer-reviewed research papers that show the health effects from these transmitters are widespread. They range from blood pressure increases, cataracts, tumours, joint pain, sore eyes. Latest NTP study shows without doubt that these transmitters, non-ionising radiation that the council says is safe, is actually classified carcinogen. The latest NTP study shows that non-ionising radiation is most certainly a class 1A cancer-causing radiation. Why did Gateshead Council do this? Why have they brought this illness upon the people of Gateshead? Like I said, anyone who has tinnitus, this is torture. Ears ringing, my ears ring all the time, I'm not the only one. Dozens of people are suffering this, sleeplessness, neurological disorders. The council, the government and their advisors have no evidence at all of chronic exposure like this on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in breach of the carbon reduction policy. This is on during the day and at night. Extremely hazardous at night when you're asleep in your bed. It's really suspicious about this. The levels are rising at night. Who's turning the radiation up off these masts at night time? I want to know who that criminal is. We need to find out why they're doing it. Well, we need to have some ideas, but that might just run into conspiracy. I'll try to stick to the science. This is 5G. Make no mistake about it, it's the rollout. The central government want to roll this out across the whole country. Take this evidence to your doctors. Take it to the police. Police have been here. I've given them the evidence. I haven't taken it. I've got the evidence. I've got scientific papers, documentary evidence to actually back this all up, right?
What's going on at Troy High School is a weapons deployment. The children at Troy High School are suffering from microwave sickness right now. I want to go into what's going on here. There's a couple reasons for the fall of Troy High School. The Troy High School rankings are dropping like a brick. Now, what is happening at this school is nothing short of a disaster, ladies and gentlemen. What's happening at this school is you have teachers literally involved in psychological traumatization of students. You have a massive depression situation in the student body here. Depression is out of control on this campus. And that is a result of many factors. One of the biggest contributing factors to the depression here is the deployment of microwave systems that are extremely high powered. We cannot get the information as to the affected radiated power out of these transmitters. I've put in public records requests to the district, and they will not release the information I'm seeking, and that is not how much power is going into these access points, but the effective radiated power coming off of the antenna off of these ruckus access points inside these classrooms that have metal walls. Now, we have a principal here whose last name is Monster. His name is Will Monster, or Munster, I believe, and he has refused to allow me to go into these classrooms and let me take measurements of these weaponry systems that have been deployed inside these classrooms with metal walls. These children are suffering from depression from chronic microwave exposure. That's a fact. And that is a documented fact in the medical and scientific literature. That is a documented fact, a documented side effect of chronic microwave exposure. It's there. That is not debatable. That is not up for debate, folks. Now, we have a serious problem with these children cracking under the pressure that is being applied on them because the freshman class here at Troy High School is failing. A large percentage of the freshman class coming into this school is failing, ladies and gentlemen. This is unprecedented. Let me tell you why that is. Because I've stood out here on the drop-off point for years at this school and the feeder schools, which are the elementary schools, and attended board meetings telling them not to deploy iPads, which is also another form of weaponry designed to sterilize children. You can go to apple666.org and you can look at that on the Fullerton Informer. Or you can go to the Fullerton Informer YouTube channel and look at the videos I've done on what is going on with the children. The elementary schools have destroyed the cognitive abilities of our children with iPads and digital learning, ladies and gentlemen. Digital learning has destroyed the children's minds, folks. And there goes the police officer right now that's protecting this horrible thing. And he's driving an off-road vehicle because the roads are so bad in this town because all the money's been stolen by the city officials. That's a digression. The cognitive abilities of our children have been destroyed by the elementary system. The K-8 system run by Robert Pletka has destroyed the cognitive function of our children. So when they get to this school, they cannot handle the rigor of the academic pressure. Now you combine that with the rigor of the metallic pressure of these walls with the microwave systems, and you have a recipe for total disaster. Now, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to wait until kids come over here and do something horrible to this place like they've threatened to do twice? We have had 2 situations where there have been school shootings threatened at this facility 2 times. In the period of, I believe, a year or 2. That is a substantial amount of credible threats, ladies and gentlemen. And these children are in harm's way because they're being pushed to the brink. These children are breaking under the academic pressure from the lack of cognitive abilities that are being hindered by the microwave deployments, as well as the destruction of their cognitive abilities by the K-8 Fullerton School District feeder systems technology programs, which have destroyed these children's critical thinking abilities.
Besides the above-mentioned illnesses, potential harm through 5G technology can also include cognitive decline, such as Alzheimer's, damage to the DNA, which we're getting damage to our DNA from so many different areas, including GMOs, cancers such as breast cancer, and much more. Is this the future you want for you and your family and friends? Is the convenience of faster download speeds from 5G technology really worth increased cancer rates, increased Alzheimer's rates, and perhaps giving someone the ability to control people's thoughts, behaviors, attitudes? What do you think? Besides ill health, having ties to the transhumanist agenda, 5G serves to link up not only the devices but also humans worldwide into what has been called an Internet of Things, a phrase coined by ex-CIA chief David Petraeus. The Internet of Things is far more than meets the eye. It's a deception, a euphemism for the plans to enslave us all in an all-encompassing, inescapable technological control grid prison. Unable to escape the control grid, our every thought and every movement will be monitored and controlled, all consistent with the technocrats' technocracy agenda. So, is this the invisible web that will, and there was a movie about this, enable them to see that you think a certain way, and you might not have even committed the quote-unquote crime, but you've thought of the crime, so you're likely to do the crime, so they're going to throw you in Gitmo and nobody will ever see you again. Is that what this is leading to? Cellphonecancer.com, again talking about the looming risks of 5G technology. And this is something that is knocking on our door. So, is it even remotely safe? The fact is, we have no idea. And, well, I shouldn't say that, because we do know that what we have now with the 4G and the 3G, which has preceded it, has definitely caused some health concerns. And I, for one, know that if I talk in a cell phone and put it to my head just even for a minute or two, I will get a migraine that will last for hours and even days sometimes, so I don't do that. It's always speakerphone, Bluetooth. So what will this do? I mean, if we're really increasing things by 10 or 20 times, can you imagine what that's going to do to your brain? And not even when you're using your phone, this is all just invisible energy that's going and penetrating your body every day. You're being exposed to this every day. Your kids are being exposed to this every day. Is it no wonder that the fertility rates are declining exponentially? It's all been planned. Remember that? Reduce the population to a manageable 500 million. So is this another way to do that? Is 5G even remotely safe? No. I mean, if the old technology is not safe, then this is not going to be safe. And can it be used as weapons? Oh, most definitely. And they already have weapons that do this. Very, very similar. It'll actually burn your skin. Great for crowd disbursement when people are going to protest. And there's even more nefarious things down there. There are patents talking about producing desired brain states in people through using these technologies. These technologies can turn you into a zombie. And is that the ultimate goal? Does that make the population easier to control while the population reduction is going on? T-Mobile building 5G networks everywhere. So they're expanding their plans on 5G today, announcing they'll build out 5G based mobile networks to 30 cities this year. And that's not all of it. The Eisenhower National Highway System for the Information Age, secure 5G. So we actually have government documents too that are talking all about what's going on, and it's all a fear of China. China is ahead of us. It just like the Russians in the 50s. The Russians are ahead of us. The Russians are ahead of us. You know, we got to catch up. We got to beat them to the moon. We have to build more nuclear weapons. Well, now it's all about cyberspace, and China is the dominant competitor, and we must beat China. The only way we could do that without the Russians interfering with our elections, without them hacking into our computers, without the Chinese hacking into our computers, we have to have this 5G network. And the government, there are some in the government that don't want this to be a private enterprise venture. The Trump team is considering nationalizing the 5G network. And here is what I feared about the Trump regime, and what my inner voice has said all along is that, and don't get me wrong, because I've shared this with you guys before, that I felt that if Hillary got in office, we were having World War III. I felt if Hillary was the president, we are going to have World War III shortly, and we're going to have a nuclear war. And that's what my inner voice, my higher guidance, inner knowing, whatever you want to call it, I just knew that's the case. So I did not want Hillary in there. Did I want Trump in there? Not really. I didn't want either of them in there. I didn't like either of them. But of the two of them, I felt that nuclear war would be imminent with Hillary and World War III, so I'd rather risk what I feared would happen with the Trump presidency is we're going to...
Project Pandora. In 1953, the Russians began to bombard the U.S. Embassy in Moscow with electromagnetic radiation in the microwave spectrum, but the fact was kept secret from the embassy employees. U.S. Ambassador Stossel contracted a blood disease, bleeding eyes, nausea, and eventually lymphoma. He and other employees eventually died as a result of the microwave attacks. Dr. Henry Kissinger sent a secret memo giving hazard pay to embassy personnel in the 1970s. Before the attacks, the USSR had met with the U.S. to try to head off an arms race in electromagnetic weapons, but were refused. In retaliation, they began microwaving the U.S. Embassy. It is possible that the U.S. government took advantage of the situation and used the embassy staff as microwave guinea pigs. The Department of Defense's Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, set up a lab at Walter Reed Army Institute of Research and participated in Project Pandora. Scientists began zapping monkeys to study the biological effects of highly concentrated microwave frequencies. Similar studies were conducted at the VA hospital in Kansas City, University of Rochester, Brooks Air Force Base, Johns Hopkins, MIT, the MITRE Corporation, University of Pennsylvania, and other domestic and foreign labs. In one study, Dr. Jose Delgado experimented on 4 human subjects using radio waves, reporting they experienced different emotions, sensations, and colored visions. Delgado stated that these weapons were, quote, more dangerous than atomic destruction. With knowledge of the brain, he said, we may transform, we may shape, direct, roboticize man. I think the great danger of the future is that we will have roboticized human beings who are not aware that they have been roboticized, unquote. Dr. Delgado was in fact responsible for the development of a brain transponder that was used to roboticize human subjects.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In the dead silence of the morning, at 5:29:45 Mountain War time, the Jornada del Muerto was bathed in an intense flash of a light that man had only seen from the stars.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Now, this is a trifecta, folks, because the third problem here is the implementation of the Common Core curriculum in the feeder school systems. That has destroyed the children's cognitive function and critical thinking function in the K-8 feeder system. So when they come here, they can't cut the mustard, folks. And here's the problem. They're still expected to. Liberal nutjob teachers that push their radical homosexual and open borders and pro-vaccine and anti-family agenda on these children. And these transgender agendas on these children are still wanting the rankings of this hellhole to stay in orbit, and it's a virtual impossibility in light of everything I've just said. Because Troy is sinking like a lead balloon, folks. It is sinking like a brick. The rankings are going through the floor because Robert Pletka and Chris Thompson and Beverly Berryman and Hilda Sugarman and Lynn Thornley, and I believe her name is Jeanette Vasquez, and if I've forgotten any, Janie Meyer, I can't forget her, have destroyed the cognitive function of our children. I wanted to bring your attention to a Hilda Sugarman, ladies and gentlemen. Hilda Sugarman, that guy probably escaped this asylum and he's free now. Good for him. Hilda Sugarman is on the school board of the Fullerton School District. Hilda Sugarman has a dream, ladies and gentlemen. Hilda Sugarman says, I have a dream that these children have iPads 24/7, ladies and gentlemen. That's quoted from her lips in the Orange County Register. Longtime board member on the Fullerton School District who is responsible for the destruction of the critical thinking skills of our students in Fullerton, California. And they may be your children. I can tell you that right now. My children had not been subjected to the iPad deployment weaponry critical thinking destruction Common Core system. Maybe yours are. Maybe that's why they're having homework meltdowns. But she sat on various committees, including a committee in Sacramento that was instrumental in bringing wireless technology into the Fullerton School District. She is also a signature to Project Inkwell. That demand that the last connection for broadband internet in the classrooms has to be wireless, folks. She is part of the agenda, ladies and gentlemen. She is a player in this agenda. Why are these kids cracking? Now, back to Hilda Sugarman. She is somebody that needs to be personally responsible, along with Bob Singer. Now, wireless radiation is a weapon, folks. We have Hilda Sugarman, and we have Beverly Berryman. Beverly Berryman is another one, folks. Beverly Berryman is the head of the PTA in this area, and she was provided with a written demand, a written presentation that had all kinds of thousands of scientific citations in it to not deploy wireless in these schools. Especially this one with the metal walls. What did Beverly Berryman do? Nothing. She suppressed the information. She refused to have a discussion on the information. Beverly Berryman has done two things. She sits on the school board of the Fullerton School District and has voted for and allowed the implementation of Common Core and wireless technology and iPads to come into the classrooms. Beverly Berryman is an enemy of your children, ladies and gentlemen. She is an enemy of children. Hilda Sugarman is an enemy of children. Who have I forgotten here? Have I forgotten Chris Thompson, who is an enemy of children? What has he got to say about the wireless situation? Absolutely nothing. Just like all the staff that works here and collects their paycheck. The staff that works here doesn't care about the kids. We have people in these schools, specifically this school, that have had brain tumors, breast cancer, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, all kinds of health problems. What have they done? Nothing. You don't care about the kids. I don't care who you are. You've never come out here on the sidewalk and stood with us and done a darn thing to stop this crap. All you've done is collected your paycheck and made sure that your little merry-go-round didn't stop turning. And that's wrong, folks. We got an evil, wicked situation going on here. We got kids that want to kill themselves at this school. Now, let's talk about the facts here, folks. Once again, the freshman class is failing. The majority of the freshman class at this school is failing their grades. The junior class, in a large percentage, is failing. We have the fruits of the labor of the district staff that has irradiated these kids and rolled Common Core in here as they remain silent on what was being done at the elementary level that we tried to stop for years, folks. And they sat back and they drank their Diet Coke and got drunk on the weekends and had their little happy parties, and they ignored everything we said. And now this place is falling apart with kids that want to kill themselves in it. This place is a hellhole, ladies and gentlemen. Troy High School is a hellhole. Troy High School is a dangerous place for students. Troy High School is a school where at least 2 times in a row there were 2 concerted efforts to shoot up this school according to the threats that were deemed credible by the Fullerton Police Department. The Fullerton Police Department had 2 situations a year apart where there were credible threats to harm staff and students here. And why is that? Because these students can't take it. Because what they're being pushed through by these radical leftist wackos, that all they care about is the rankings of this school. All they care about is the test scores. When they don't want to take into consideration what is being done to the children before they get here. They're being destroyed in the Fullerton School District with the iPads. The iPads are a waste of hundreds of millions of dollars. They're sterilizing the children with dangerous microwave radiation. You can go to apple666.org and look that up. Now, we got a drug problem at Troy High School, a big one. Because inside the walls of this prison system is an Adderall epidemic, and a marijuana epidemic, and a Oxycontin epidemic. The biggest drug of choice on this campus is Adderall. Why is not Mr. Monster, the school district principal, why aren't they drug tested for Adderall at this place? Why? Why is the school on cocaine? Because that's basically what it is. It's a stimulant, folks. Adderall is like methamphetamine or cocaine. It's a stimulant. This school is drugged up, it's irradiated, and it's breaking, and it's depressed. And you got kids who want to kill themselves here. And if you talk to the seniors, they can't wait to get out of here. Let me tell you something, folks. When I was in high school, I loved high school. It was fun. Learning was fun. We had incandescent lights and clear windows and textbooks and teachers that loved us and cared about us with chalkboards. You know what we got here? A bunch of liberal psychopaths that have sat back and let these students get pushed to the brink and microwaved and vaccinated and brainwashed and broken. And all they care about is when their next raise and when their next day off is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the definition of evil. Troy High School is an evil place. Troy High School needs to be closed down. Now, here's another fact about Troy High School. Half the student body of this school doesn't live in the city of Fullerton. This school is a subsidy program for the teachers union. This school needs to be closed down, and all these other kids that don't live in our city need to go back to their feeder districts, which are taking revenue away from the crumbling districts that need it more desperately than we do. We have 2 bonds on our property tax. They have ripped us off for 20 years, folks, and these places are in ruin. These places are decrepit disasters. Their air conditioning systems are terrible. They've upgraded nothing but the pension plans and the benefit packages for these silent, complicit teachers that don't care about these kids. This place needs to be shut down, and this needs to be sold off to Cal State Fullerton or the highest bidder. Maybe they could turn this place into a park, because we probably need one here. And we also need more money going into the other schools, because these other schools don't have enough money to operate. There are schools that don't have coaches, that don't have textbooks, they don't have the proper drinking fountains, they don't have the proper infrastructure in these schools. The fields are a mess, the classrooms are a mess, everything's a mess in these other schools, ladies and gentlemen, because this place is ripping off the tax money to support a bunch of people who don't pay taxes in our community. That is the problem with the business model of this school. And now the business model of the school, like I stated, has changed, because now it is aiming at sights at bringing in the free lunch students, ladies and gentlemen, because they pay better. And so now they're losing their ranking, the test scores are dropping, and the rankings are dropping. And so what you have here is now they're going fishing. They put the net out to bring people in from even further away, from a different socioeconomic background. And you're going to see the dynamic of the school continue to change as it has done so. For microwave weaponry is deployed in this school. That is affecting the cognitive function of these students. That is affecting their critical thinking skills. We have an epidemic at Troy High School of insomnia. Chronic insomnia is a direct result of chronic microwave exposure. Chronic microwave exposure results in insomnia, arrhythmia, all kinds of blood irregularities, fertility issues, behavioral issues, cognitive function, all kinds of problems. It is the last thing you want to bring into a school. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very solemn moment out in front of Troy.
The rise of the New Reich. And we are going to see all-out governmental control over every facet of life. And we're going to see the semblance of democracy gone. And the walls that can be built, they could be built to hold people out from getting in, and they could also be built to keep people in from getting out. And also, I just felt that with Trump in power, you know, it's going to turn into a dictatorship. And that was just my gut. And would I rather risk a dictatorship or risk what I felt to be an immediate World War III and nuclear war? I guess I would rather risk the dictatorship if we had no other choices. and then hope that people wake up and stop it from happening. Of course, I would rather have had neither of them. Now, the Trump team is considering nationalizing the 5G network, and we're going to see a lot more of this. We're going to see a centralization and all-out control by the military-industrial complex taking completely over. And semblance of democracy is going to go by the wayside. That's what I'm fearing. So we really have to be vocal about all this. We really have to make our wishes known. We really have to get rid of all the yes men and get rid of pretty much 97% of Congress, maybe 99% of Congress. Trump national security officials are considering an unprecedented federal takeover of a portion of the nation's mobile network to guard against China, according to sensitive documents obtained by Axios. Why does that matter? We got our hands on a PowerPoint deck and a memo, both produced by a senior National Security Council official, which were presented recently to senior officials at other agencies in the Trump administration. The documents say America needs a centralized nationwide 5G network within 3 years. There's going to be fierce debate, and there is fierce debate already, and an outcry from the industry over the next 6 to 8 months on how such a network is built and paid for. The two options laid out by the documents: the U.S. government pays for it and builds the single network. And really that means you and I. The taxpayers do it. Do you think it's going to be the government? The government is us, but it's not us because we're ruled by the government, but yet we're the ones that fund it. An alternative plan where wireless providers build their own 5G networks that compete with each other. Though the document says the downside is it could take longer and cost more, it argues that one of the pros of that plan is it would cause less commercial disruption to the wireless industry of the government, as opposed to the government building the network. And then a source familiar with the document says that option 2, which is the wireless providers building their own, is really no option at all. A single centralized network is what is required to protect America against China and other bad actors. So it's already a done deal. They know what they're doing. And watch and be wary of the power grabs that go on with this. And this is just the beginning. So a general leaves the National Security Council after the leak of that 5G telecom memo report. Why do you leave? What was in this memo? Well, obviously it was saying this is going to be centralized. This is a military thing. This is about national security, quote unquote. This is about the boogeyman, and the boogeyman in this case is now China. Use the boogeyman to scare the public into anything. And here we have a whitehouse.gov document about everything we were just talking about. And of course, I'll have links for all this for you guys to look through on your own, peruse, educate yourself. So does the human body have a resonance frequency? Of course it does, and it's different in each section of the body. But these energies are going to be abusive to the human body, disruptive to the human body. And again, is it worth it? Is this worth people dying of cancer? Is this worth people suffering with Alzheimer's? Is this worth, again, our giving our authority away, the ability to control our bodies, and perhaps even our abilities to think clearly? These energies can be used to control populations. These energies can be used to punish, to cause pain. They can be used to manipulate nervous systems, crowd control. How does half of 1% keep the 99.5% under control? They use technology. For one, they use propaganda. For two, they pray to the things, our needs, our wants, our desires. They do it all the time. You know, they do it all the time, trying to get us to eat fast food, trying to get us, you know, to kill ourselves in a numerous amount of ways, making GMO foods that are going to disrupt and harm our DNA so inexpensive, and organic food so expensive. And I don't want to be a downer on everything, but this is the truth, you know, and we need to make others aware of this. There's real danger here. We don't even know how much it's going to be able to affect our minds. We really don't. Is everybody going to be going around wrapped up in tinfoil? Are those people that don't wrap themselves up in tinfoil going to be dying of cancer in like ever increasing rates? What's really going on here? And why can't we stop them? Why don't we have a say in anything? Why can't we just say, no, you're waiting until we know for sure everything is safe? And since it doesn't look like it's safe, then forget about the whole idea. And then there's those people out there that just, you know, whatever. I just want my faster downloads, dude. That's all. So, I'll die sometime, whatever. I just, you know, I want to watch the movie without any interruptions. I want to play my video games without any bogging down. God help us. So everybody needs to wake up. This is definitely something that's very, very serious, and on more level than one. For sure, it's a health crisis. For two, is it a power grab? It very well could be. Is it another method of control? It definitely could be. Is it another weapon that could be pointed at us? It definitely could be. As always, everyone, share your comments on this. You know, what are you guys thinking? Share this video. Wake up people. Get people thinking, questioning, and, you know, crap, we need to write some letters to Congress, then we do that. If we need to get out and do some letters to the editor, we do it. We do whatever we have to. We need to speak up before the 99.5% of us gets culled to half of 1%. And then you have half of 1% in control, and the other half of 1% is just a small group of slaves, completely under control, not even able to think on their own anymore. Completely controlled. Nothing but meat sacks. We don't want that. We don't want to be controlled. That's not what humans...
This is a crime against humanity. I want everyone to share this so that we can get this into the public domain. The public don't know they're ill. They don't know what's causing it. I spoke to a lady just yesterday. Her daughter started to take fits. They don't know why. We've got children developing brain tumours. It's absolutely unbelievable what's been going on. Must get this stopped. Gateshead, I've spoke to, you know, I'm appealing to the people of Gateshead and Newcastle. You're getting this all over the country, by the way. We must get this crime stopped. It's an absolute outrage. Central government diktat, 5G rollout, must get it stopped. So what we're going to have to do, your local authorities not listening. They've had all the evidence from me, all the scientific documentary evidence to show that this isn't safe. They're telling me that it is. Watch the first video when I speak to Councillor McElroy, in which he says this radiation has no further detrimental effect on children, small flying animals and insects. It's a lie. And he's been told from the head of, well, that's if he was told from the head of PHE that that was a scientific fact. It's not. It's actually the exact opposite. My assumption is a law of physics. It's basic law of physics, and the reason why a £1 chicken takes less to cook than a £5 chicken, in layman's terms, they're lying to you. Alright? That type of energy affects small body animals in a lot more detrimental way than what it does a full-bodied male. So I want everybody to share this video. I think I've said enough tonight, but this shows the gravity and the dangers that's being posed to us from people who do not understand the technology. They didn't know this was microwave radiation. They still tell me it's not 5G, even though I know it to be 5G and I have the evidence to show it's 5G. Good night, everybody.
There are people in this community from this rollout. Well, I'm very passionate about this. I've got here about bleed from the nose at night from this telecom secretly rolled out 5G. Somebody needs to go to prison. There's a crime against humanity.
Good morning, everyone. It's 6:30 in the morning. Right. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this video again. There's some meter readings there for you now. You see, I know it bounces around a lot. Right. You've got to remember, right, that's how waves come off these devices. Right. The pulse, it's a pulse modulated. 868 million pulses a second. That's what an 868 megahertz frequency transmitter does. Obviously, you'll see the radiation in here. That's significantly hazardous to a baby, child, woman, pregnant women in particular. The reason why I'm taking this video this morning has come to our attention. Gated Council have actually admitted it to me yesterday. It's come to our attention that Gateshead Council are telling people who are ringing up in good faith that this transmitter is only on intermittently. That's not the case, Gateshead Council. Once again, we know that you didn't know it was microwave radiation. I had to explain that to you. I've also had to explain to you it's a 5G telecoms experimental test. Because I still don't accept that. However, I am right. You are wrong. However, women are ringing up who are concerned about their children. They're concerned about their children. They're concerned about being pregnant. And Gateshead Council, I'll get a little bit closer on the waveform. You see that there? See it bouncing 800. Alright, that's really dangerous. Now I'm going to give you a view of the light. See, that's it, because I've got the horn directly at it. But as you'll see, that's 30 odd metres away. Pregnant women, people who are ringing up concerned, the council are misinforming them. I tell them that this is only on intermittently. It's not, Gateshead Council. You have the product sheet, so do I. It's on 100% continuous. I'll post this up. I'll post that evidence up with this. Why, Gateshead Council, we are explaining to ladies who are pregnant, who have young children, to keep them as far away from this transmitter as possible until we can get this criminal rollout stopped. So why are your employees misinforming the general public? Have you no shame? Have you no humanity? How many babies need to die in the womb from this type of radiation? It's well documented. There's a 300% increase from microwave radiation like this causes miscarriage, near full-term miscarriage, inexplicable illnesses, cancer, you name it, it causes it. Bad heads. Will you please have some humanity and stop putting women at more significant risk by telling them this is not what you guys say it is, and it's what I say it is. It's an experimental 868, 870 megahertz frequency test. Tested on the people at Gateshead, illegally, covertly, without any public consultation, a multi-million-pound project. We don't know anything about it. You didn't bring this to the attention of the people, so I'm going to have to bring it to the attention of the people. Everyone has to remember, I did, in private, write to the Chief Executive about this, because I knew exactly what it was. I thought it was a mistake. I thought they'd just made one absolutely massive mistake. But it looks like they haven't made a mistake. And that shows intent. There's some intent here, and obviously Gateshead Council have lawyers. They'll understand the implications. Babies dying in the womb from this type of radiation, and in it, the element of intent could be seen very dimly by the legal community. If anyone wants us to come and meet her at their home to see how much radiation they've been exposed to, and also if any future claims, any legal action that's taken in the future, it's best to get this documented. We will come, we'll measure the radiation in your home. Gateshead Council haven't done any in situ measuring, by the way. They don't even know how dangerous this is, because I haven't done any. They just rolled it out willy-nilly. Didn't really give much care or attention, no health impact analysis, no analysis at all. It's like as if the people of Gateshead don't matter. Well, the people of Gateshead matter to me. They matter to my community, because I'm from Gateshead. The people who headed this up may not be, but I'm not that bothered. Alright? I think I've done enough now. Please, Gateshead Council, if you have any humanity, people bring up to ask about the risk from this, please tell them the truth. Stop lying to them, and tell them to keep as far away as possible until we can get this stopped. This is not safe. Any health and safety executive, if you go and check the latest HSE documentation, these radiation levels are significantly higher than what you should be exposed to at work for longer periods of time. Alright, 4 and 5 times, 10 times, we've measured this radiation significantly higher than this. Absolutely significantly higher, but you have to remember once again, we are 30 metres from that mast. Alright? Good morning, Gateshead. I'll be posting this up later on. Anyone that rings the council again and gets this misinformation, contact me. We need to document it, because obviously this is a conspiracy to cover up the crime. So take their names, take people's names when they're misinforming you, because what we need to do is, when this case goes forward, and there's made no mistake about it, there will be a criminal case in relation to this, right? We need to know who they are, right? So people take names, please. Like I said, anyone that needs us to come and meet her in your home to see how hazardous the radiation is in your home, if you're suffering any neurological disorders, etc., we'll come. Not a problem. Okay, just contact me through the social media. That's if you can get through, because I've had quite a little bit of trouble with my social media of late. Contact any other people on my feeds. They'll contact me. They have my contact details, and we'll come out and we'll meet.
What the doctors will do if you take your child to the doctors for chronic migraines is they will never ask you the question about microwave exposure, because doctors are evil, ladies and gentlemen, and doctors destroy your health and give you petrochemical poisons to kill you and to make the pharmaceutical companies lots of money and to lower the population. And they're a bunch of brainwashed idiots who are totally arrogant, who have a God complex, who think they know everything and that you're just an idiot, and if you ask the wrong questions, they'll get mad at you. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Don't take your children to the doctors, all right? Unless, of course, they break their arm or they're dying. I don't take my BMW to the mechanic unless there's something wrong with it. If the car doesn't start, I try to figure out what's wrong with it. If there's a light on my dashboard, I try to figure out what fluid needs to be topped off. If the tire sensor goes off, I put air in the tire. I don't run to the mechanic to change my windshield wiper fluid, and neither should you with your children. They're going to give you chronic migraine medication, which is another problem because that causes all kinds of other health problems. Shut off your wireless in your homes. Tell your children to demand not to be exposed to microwaves at school. Now, another issue with chronic microwave exposure from Wi-Fi and WLAN systems and Wi-Fi hotspots and iPads and all this nonsense is bloody noses. Are your children getting bloody noses a lot? Did you know what microwaves do to your blood chemistry? Do you know what microwaves do to your platelet formation? Do you know that microwaves cause rouleau formations in your blood? Do you know that the military has studied this for decades and they've known it for 50 years? And they've put this stuff in every classroom in the United States. Now, if you go to the office with a bloody nose, the school nurse should be taking a report and demand that they do, because the school districts aren't logging these complaints. I know a teacher in Los Angeles Unified School District who has gone on record at a board meeting and stated that African American students who have classrooms in metal shipping containers that have been converted to classrooms with multiple Wi-Fi access points are bleeding out of their ears and noses. And the school district in Los Angeles Unified refuses to file incident reports on these events. So if your child's getting bloody noses, and if your child's getting migraines, it's from Wi-Fi exposure, microwave exposure, ladies and gentlemen. Now, another thing that these despicable weapons that have been deployed in our children's environments are doing is causing chronic insomnia. Did you know that a side effect from chronic microwave exposure is sleeplessness? That's right. I've cited, once again, a report from the 1970s that was prepared by the military, and it goes into great detail as to how microwave exposures cause insomnia. Are your children having a hard time sleeping? Is there a Wi-Fi access point in your bedroom? Is there an Xbox 360 plugged into the wall in their room, or a PlayStation? Like I said, unless you unplug these devices, those microwave systems are broadcasting even when they're powered off, ladies and gentlemen. That is a weapon. That is a silent weapon. The Xbox 360 was developed by Bill Gates Corporation. Y'all know what Bill Gates is involved in. He's involved in vaccines. Bill Gates is a eugenicist, ladies and gentlemen. He's a vile, disgusting human being that makes evil things. And the Bible talks about inventors of evil things and what will happen to them when they die. Now, so you're going to go to the doctors because that's what you think you need to do because your child can't sleep. Then your child's going to give them some sort of sleeping aid. Do you know what happens when you take sleeping pills? It causes depression. Now, if you want your child to be able to sleep, shut off the microwave systems in your home. Don't have a Wi-Fi repeater in your room or a Wi-Fi access point in your children's bedroom. One of my children has a friend at school, and this poor girl has to sleep in her bedroom with a Wi-Fi extender or a Wi-Fi repeater in her room. She has trouble sleeping. She has headaches. She has insomnia. You know what else happened to this poor young girl? She developed seizures, ladies and gentlemen, with no history of seizures in her family. You heard me. Microwaves can cause seizures. Microwaves cause insomnia. Microwaves cause migraines. Now, so you go to the doctors because your kid's getting headaches. They put them on pills for that. Then your kid ends up being sleepless, so they put them on pills for that. And then they end up getting depressed. Did you know that microwaves cause depression? Chronic microwave exposure causes depression, ladies and gentlemen. That is a documented fact. Once again, the military has studied this for decades. And there are studies that link chronic microwave exposure to depression. Well, sleeping pills cause depression too, so if you took your kid to the doctors for insomnia and they got sleeping pills, that's going to contribute to the depression. The headaches cause depression. You know what else? The Common Core causes depression. And the curriculum that these kids are being taught, how they came from rocks and monkeys and that they're an accident, that causes depression. And when they're given this transgender, bisexual, kinky sex ed curriculum starting in kindergarten like it's going on in the Anaheim School District at Betsy Ross Elementary today, that causes depression. So all these pills cause depression. So what do they give these children? fluoride-based serotonin reuptake inhibitors. That's what they give children that are suffering from depression. You think anybody's going to bring up the fact that the microwaves are causing the depression? Because if they did, they wouldn't be able to sell them all these evil drugs. But like I said, folks, back to the beginning of my story. Microwave devices are a suicide weapon that have been handed out like lollipops on Halloween to unsuspecting children and parents. You may be one of those parents. The school district is the scary man that is putting the razor blades and the apples on Halloween, folks. That's right, you heard me. The school districts are the equivalent to the psychopaths that used to put razor blades in apples. Remember you used to hear about that on Halloween? That they would put poison in the candies or razor blades in the apples? I heard about that growing up. That's what the school districts are, folks. The school districts are involved in pure evil, rolling out microwave weaponry that have been given to your children, have been forced on your children, that have got your children addicted, and now these are killing your kids. Because guess what else this stuff does? It causes cancer. Microwaves cause cancer. The NTTP study, even though as rigged as it was, clearly shows a link in certain types of cancers. So microwaves cause insomnia, bloody noses, headaches, depression, and cancer. Guess what else they cause besides seizures, insomnia, bloody noses, headaches, and depression? They cause infertility. Microwave exposure has been shown to cause infertility in both male and female reproductive systems. Ladies and gentlemen, if your kid can't sleep, and he can't think, and he's not happy, and he's got headaches all the time, and he's on sleeping pills and headache pills, and he wants to go to the doctors, and then they give him all these drugs, and then they end up getting cancer, and then they can't have kids. What do you call a wireless device, folks? Is that something that Mother Teresa would have handed out in the slums of Calcutta? No, ladies and gentlemen, they're weapons, and they've been invented by a very evil man called Steve Jobs, and where he kept it on his abdomen is right where his pancreas was, folks. He died from pancreatic cancer, and he wouldn't let his kids have an iPad. Who runs Apple Computer Company? You go look it up, folks. You look at the people that run this company and that are proliferating these weapons all over the world. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, right now, you need to do something to save your children and stop letting them kill themselves. The government schools are killing your children. The government schools have school boards in my community, Fullerton, California, that know what they're doing and are doing it anyways. Chris Thompson, Lynn Thornley, Beverly Berryman, Hilda Sugarman, Janny Meyer, and now Jeanette Vasquez are on the school board. They've continued to microwave the children. Robert Pletka, the school superintendent, continues to microwave the children. One of the assistant superintendents, who was in all the meetings we spoke at, went on a fishing trip with our superintendent a couple years ago and mysteriously died on the trip. And I just wonder if that has anything to do with any of this. Maybe he was going to go public and talk about it. His name was Ed Burdish. Really mysterious circumstances around his death. They claimed it was a heart attack. I don't know how many people have heart attacks when they're out fishing in Mexico. That's the most relaxing place you can go. Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening to our children is pure evil. They have been given suicide weapons by the school district, and it is up to you to protect your children in your home, folks. What is happening right now is that with your permission, hooked up to your Wi-Fi systems in your home, your kids are harming themselves and the rest of the members of your household. If you keep an iPad in your lap, and look this up on apple666.org, or look at these gaming controllers, your children are going to develop testicular cancer and infertility, or ovarian cancer. If they're going to keep these phones in their breasts, they're going to develop breast cancer. If they keep these iPads in their breasts, by their breasts or their abdomen, they're going to get some form of cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're pregnant, did you know that your child will develop autism if you have chronic microwave exposure near your abdomen. How do I know this? Go to an article called Carbonyl Iron and Orange County, the autism capital of the state. Google that and you'll see the article I wrote on this. Are you going to let the evil school district system destroy your children? Are you going to do something about taking back their health? It's simple, folks. You can reclaim your home and clean up your house and get all the microwave systems out of your home. If you live in an apartment, you're in a more difficult situation because that stuff's coming through all your walls and possibly even from above and below you. However, you can buy radio frequency shielding paint and you can paint your walls, or you can at least do it to the bedrooms where you sleep. I strongly urge you to look into all this, folks, and do something to protect your children. Chronic microwave exposure causes headaches, causes migraines, causes insomnia, causes bloody noses, causes confusion, issues with memory, difficulty concentrating. It causes seizures. It causes cancer. It causes infertility. Is there any other horrible thing you want done to your child by the school district? Because if there is, why don't you send me an email and I'll make sure they add it to their regiment. I'm joking, ladies and gentlemen, but I wish this was not a joke. This is a very serious issue. And it is up to you to, at the very least, make your home safe, hardwire your devices. I will be going into what the lighting of these devices does to your children in a subsequent video. In the meantime, in Jesus' name, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to do your research. Go to thefullertoninformer.com and look at the article on the front page and familiarize yourself with what is being done to your children through the school districts. Go to wifidangers.com. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and spread the word, folks. We're running out of time. We've had years of exposure for these children, and the chickens are coming home to roost, folks. It's never too late to do the right thing, and now is the time to start. This is Joe Imbriano coming to you from Orange County, California. Please do what's required to save your children.
But when you start changing and making it law, that certain words can no longer be used, even in ordinary conversation. After all, we speak because we communicate. When you can end communication, then you're into George Orwell's 1984, where the dictionary gets thinner and thinner and thinner, and there's new speak, you see, the new terminology to use, which conveys only what the elite want it to convey, and you can't eventually have words. There's words missing that you need to use to explain actual reality. It's gone. And as the dictionary gets thinner and thinner too, and it's full of newspeak, it's impossible for anyone to foment revolution because no one will be able to understand the other person. The words are gone to express it. You can't express anything that matters. Isn't that interesting, eh? It's no coincidence. No coincidence that you have these new censor departments on what you say. Because what you say, remember, is only a reflection of what you think. Thought crime. Thought crime. And now you have speech crime, and so on, and so on, and so on. You can't really ever believe you live in a free society when forces at the top are completely serious on what they're doing and what they intend to do when it comes to speech and curtailing of speech or thought, or even innocent questions spoken by children about certain topics, or adults. I mean, we are very curious creatures as humans, and that's what your mind thrives on, is learning new things all the time, understanding things. When that's curtailed, then your mind is imprisoned. You are imprisoned. And you cannot ever say that you live in a free society. It's a travesty. It's beyond a joke. Beyond a joke. A joke you can laugh at. This is way beyond a joke. This is something you should be very fearful of.